And good morning, everybody. It's almost Halloween. In fact, Halloween is tomorrow. So our science lab today is called Boo Lab. So we're going to be doing a few experiments to help put the boo into Halloween. And some of the things are going to be fun to touch. One of the things you'll be able to eat later. And just some really cool science behind some of the things you see at Halloween. So let's get started. As you can see right here back on my table, we've got some supplies. We're going to make some fizzy pumpkins, little fizzy mini pumpkins. And if you don't have some, I painted mine orange because I had some orange food coloring. But if you don't have food coloring, you could make them into fizzy eyeballs. And so that's what I'm going to do today. And we'll show you how to make that. I need some measuring cups, a little bowl to mix things in, a spoon, some baking soda, some water, and some vinegar, and some dish soap as well. So let's get started on the mini fizzing pumpkins project. All right. Oh, by the way, I dressed up like a cat today because, hey, it's Halloween. Okay, are you ready? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to make a mixture of some baking soda and some water. And that's what's going to make a dough that makes these little fizzy pumpkins or fizzy eyeballs. And so I need about a cup. So whenever you do a recipe, you're actually doing a formula, just like a scientist. You need to get the proportions right. So it's really good if you're being a young scientist to learn how to measure things. So I am measuring a cup of baking soda. That's what I started with. So measuring it nice and accurately and sticking a cup of baking soda into my little bowl. Now next, I'm going to make a dough out of this. You know, if you like to touch baking soda, it's really kind of cool and dry and powdery. It's kind of fun. So if you want to touch it, go right ahead. I got a spoon here because I'm going to mix some stuff up. And now I need 1/3 of a cup of water. So let me pour some water. You know, if you're a scientist and learning pouring skills is one of the things you need to work on. So I'm pouring 1/3 cup of water. Woohoo! And that's going to go into my baking soda. All right. So now I'm going to stir it up. Now, right about now, if you want to make fizzing pumpkins, you can put some orange food coloring in there or some yellow and red food coloring in there. But I'm going to make fizzy eyeballs with this one. The eyeballs are white, so mine is going to be white. But yours could be orange. Now, when you start to stir this up with the water, it's going to be kind of mushy. And that's kind of fun to feel too. So if you're just kind of mixing this around and you want to use your hands, feel free to get right in there and smush it around. And you're going to get a little bit of baking soda on you, but that won't hurt anything. So now I'm going to come a little closer so you can see what my mixture looks like up close. Ooh boy, look at that. And I'm going to stir it and stir it and stir it and stir it. Now if yours doesn't make clumps like that, see how mine's making clumps? You can add just a little bit more baking soda. And it's almost ready. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a big eyeball with my clump. So see how I'm rolling it? I put a little clump of baking soda in my hand, and now I'm rolling it, and I'm rolling it, and I'm going to put my eyeball on the plate. Now I let my fizzy pumpkins from yesterday sit out for, you know, since yesterday morning. But you can, that's the hard part, waiting until they're dry. But if you want to just make some eyeballs or mini pumpkins right now and make them fizz, it'll work too. But it's kind of fun if they're dry. So there's another eyeball I made. Fizzing eyeballs. Okay, so let's make them fizz. Now that you know the formula, what 1 cup of baking soda, 1/3 cup of water. Let's make them fizz. So I'm going to put these down and I'm going to get out a big pan. Now this is going to make kind of a mess. Of course, that's what we do here on Food Lab. We love to make messes. So I'm going to set this just to the side for a second. And we're going to set up our fizz pan. That's what this is. This is my fizz pan. And I also have a little bit of dish soap. I have some vinegar. I have a little squirter, but you can pour it as well. And so I'm going to put, let's see, here's my mini fizzing pumpkins and eyeballs. I'm going to put one of my eyeballs in, but you might want to wait until they're dry before you do yours. But you can do yours right now too. And I'm going to put in a couple of fizzing pumpkins. There we go, in the pan. And a little bit of dish soap all around. Now dish soap hangs on to the bubbles and makes them last longer. So I'm squirting a little bit of dish soap in here. And I didn't measure it, so I hope I have enough. Next, here comes some vinegar. I poured a little vinegar in my measuring cup and I have a little squirter. And I'm going to squirt a little bit of vinegar onto my fizzing pumpkins. And we're going to see what happens. Ooh, my eyeball is going for real, really quick. Woo, come on. Ooh, now I'm getting some fizz on my mini pumpkins. Whoa. I expected a little bit more fizz. There we go. Oh, there we go. Now it's going. Squirt, squirt, squirt. Mini pumpkin fizz and fizzing eyeballs. Woo! So there we go. I'm going to put a little bit more by pouring. You can do that too. Whoa! Woo! Woo! Make it all fizz up. So there is my fizzing mini pumpkins and fizzing eyeball. And the dish soap is making those bubbles stick around. Woo, I got a lot of foam here. So that's a great experiment. So you can let your eyeballs or fizzy pumpkins dry out and then test and see which one fizzed better. That's kind of like an experiment. Kind of guess and see what you think happened. All right, so I'm going to put this experiment away and we're going to do another one. Now this one that we're going to do next is one that you can eat. And I don't want to drop that on the floor. Okay, I have a whole bunch of baking soda on my hands, what I got. Okay, I have some green jello. Oops. I have some green jello. I have some gummy worms. I have something to mix my jello in. And I have a big long spoon so I can get to the bottom of it. And I have some hot water and I have some cold water. So I'm going to bring back my water here. And I have, again, we're going to measure whenever you make a recipe of something, you are actually making a formula. And I got to reach for my hot water here. I put that over there. Hot water, cold water, jello. And I have some containers to put it in because what we're going to make is a funky looking green treat. It looks like a little petri dish that scientists use to test out and grow mold and bacteria to see what happens when you try to see what happens in a petri dish. Okay, so that's what we're making right now. And then you can actually eat this later. It tastes really good. Eat your science project. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take the jello and find out what happens. Now, one of the cool things about this experiment is you get to see how things dissolve. Now, dissolving is kind of like a solid dancing with a liquid, and then they combine and hug each other and not let go. So there is my jello in my container. And now I'm going to put a cup of hot water in there. Oops, here's my cup measure. I knew I had it somewhere. And I'm going to put a cup of hot water in there and stir up all of the jello until I can't see any of the jello grains. So that is dissolving my jello, woo, in some hot water. So here we go. Ooh, of course it's green jello because it's Halloween, right? Sweet. So now I'm going to dissolve my jello into the container and stir it up. Okay, so I'm stirring and stirring and stirring. And as you're stirring, you can see the grains of jello kind of disappear. There, I'm going to hold that a little closer too. Whoa, it turned clear. Now, when I first put it in there, I could see all the jello grains. Now as I stir it, it's making a solution and all the jello grains are disappearing and dissolving. Okay, so now when I read the box of my jello and I follow the recipe or the formula, it says I need a cup of cold water. So it was a cup of hot water. Now it's a cup of cold water. So I'm going to pour my cold water in and stir again. Now the thing about jello is it takes a while to set up. Jello gets thick. Of course you've seen jello before. It turns from a liquid into a solid. That's how we got our little petri dish, because of the gelatin. The molecules of the gelatin hang on to the jello, the molecules of the water, and it doesn't let go. And so you get it to form a solid, like my petri dish here. Okay, so now let's make us a little treat. Now, so if you're at home, you can do little treats like that. See, I have some little cups. Or you could use something bigger. You have a bigger cup, you know, and I've got clear plastic ones here, but you might have something at home like a little dish. And so that's when the gummy worms come into play. We are going to stick a gummy worm, because they're really creaky, right? Creaky, creaky, creaky gummy worm, or two in each one of our containers. There's one there, and another. That's a little one, so that one only gets one. And maybe a couple more in there. And one there. There we go. So, you know, I just realized that not everybody likes green jello. What if you did red jello? That would be a cool Halloween color too. Then it might look like blood or something, right? Okay, so I'm gonna pour again into my cups. Oh, look at that. Just a little bit in this one because it's so tiny. And this one here too. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is stick that in the fridge. Jello, gummy worms, cool. And of course, later, a couple hours, I'm gonna eat it. Really good. All right. Ooh, purple jello would work really good too. Okay, so those are two fun Halloween projects that you can do. And we're gonna do another, let's do some sound effects next. I think part of Halloween is having some fun sound effects. Some creepy, creepy, creepy Halloween sound effects. So let's do that next. All right, get my things out of the way. And come on over here. Okay, one of the cool things about sound effects is you take something that you see. Whoops, I'm going to unwrap my carrot. I have a carrot. Like this, and you know it's a carrot, but if you can't see it, what sound does a carrot make? What if I broke it? You could find out. You could do this with a carrot. You could do this with a stick. And you might be able to say, what sound would a carrot make? And what if you couldn't see the carrot, what would happen if I broke the carrot, and what sound would it make? Would it sound like breaking bones? Let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to break a part out here. Listen. Wow! All right, so what if you couldn't see the carrot and you heard that breaking noise? I'm holding the carrot down here. You can't see it. Sort of a popping noise. Let's do that again. So that's part of the fun of sound effects. You're using something that's normal, like a carrot, and associating it with something else, like breaking bones. That's creepy. So now I probably broke my carrot in as many pieces as I can. So here's another thing. Breaking glass is not a good thing, but on Halloween it might sound spooky. So what we're going to do is take my cookie sheet and just some silverware, and again, normal things. When you see them, and I'm going to drop them in a second, you'll hear their normal noise. But if you can't see it, it may sound like something totally different, like breaking glass. I don't know. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Silverware on a cookie sheet. Let's find out what it sounds like. Close your eyes. See what you think it sounds like now. Did it sound like something breaking, like glass, something spooky? Ooh, speaking of spooky, here's another. This is really totally Halloween. If you have a balloon today, and if you have a little nut, a little hex nut, see how it has 6 sides on it? That's why they call it a hex nut. You can make a ghost that makes a crazy noise. Now, I put one together before, and I put the hex nut inside. But when I spin this balloon, it makes this crazy screaming noise. Let's see if we can get it going here. Oh, there. I hope you heard that. Sometimes my computer doesn't pick up all the sound. But this is what I did. First, I took the balloon, and it's got a little neck on it, right? And I took that hex nut, and I put it inside. Oh, come on. And it's hard to get it to go down the neck, but it did. It went down to the wider part of the balloon. Then you blow it up. I'm going to do it bigger this time. One more time. Okay. And tie it off, of course, and spin it. Oh, where is it? In there. Oh! Boy, that was unexpected. I think my hex nut, the edges, popped my balloon, and it went flying. Whoa, and my ears are coming down. That was crazy. So watch out when you do, whenever balloons are involved. You might pop them. But see if you can get a ghost noise going. So those are our sound effects today. And I have something else that's kind of fun. Have you ever heard of shrunken heads? They're kind of spooky. And we are going to make a shrunken head out of an apple. So let me get my stuff. And if you have an apple, and you might have an adult, like I have a plastic knife because I can't get hurt on it, but I also have a big knife that's sharp, and you might ask an adult to do that. Sometimes, peeling apples is kind of hard, but we're going to do it differently. So what you can ask an adult to do this. Cut an apple in half. Just like that. And then there is the inside of your apple. Now, if you're really good at peeling apples, you can peel away, whoops, not with a plastic knife. You can peel away the peel, but that takes kind of a long time, and it's a skill that you have to learn to use, and it might be hard. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the inside of the apple and carve that to be the face of the shrunken head. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and dig out the seeds with our plastic knife. Actually, I'm going to use a spoon. I'm going to dig it out. And that is going to be the big mouth of our shrunken head. Okay. And so you see the top of the apple where the stem was? That's where I'm going to put the eyes. And you can either do this with a plastic knife or you can do it with a spoon. If you have a bigger apple, it'll work. So I'm going to come a little closer so you can see how I'm digging out the eyes. Okay, so there it is. There's the big scary mouth. And here, I'm just digging out a little chunk for an eye. There we go. And over here. One more. Two eyes. Okay, there. Can you see that? And you can put some more lines in here because when this shrinks up, it'll be all wrinkly. So then you can soak this in some water and salt. Remember when we made the solution of the jello and the jello powder and the water, and we stirred it around and all of a sudden it disappeared? You can take about a tablespoon of salt, stick it in some water, and stir it up, make a solution. Salt will disappear, then soak your apple in it. And if you leave your apple sitting out, just sitting out on the kitchen counter, it'll turn brown a little bit, and it'll turn all wrinkly and start to shrivel up. But this time of year, we don't have the driest weather, so you can also have your mom put it in the oven on the lowest temperature for a couple hours, and it'll shrink up too. If you just let it sit out on the kitchen counter, it might turn moldy this time of year, but in the summer you can do it. So then you have a spooky shrunken head to add to your Halloween decorations. Well, that's kind of fun. So I have one more cool thing to show you. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a catapult. So you can shoot marshmallows or Halloween candy all around your room. And what we're going to do that with is some popsicle sticks and some rubber bands. And this is kind of fun. And then you can measure how far that you shoot either marshmallows or Halloween candy. Let me grab some of my stuff here. I'll show you how to do it. So my catapult fell apart. Whoops, but we'll remake it. So what I did, catapult can shoot things all across the room. So I had 2 popsicle sticks. And if you have the wider kind of popsicle sticks, that's probably better. And I held them together and I wrapped them around just one end. See how I'm doing that? Wrapping. Okay, so I got it just like that. And so now I'm going to open this up in a minute. Oops. There we go. So that's step 1. Step 2 is going to look like this. I put 4 popsicle sticks together and wrapped both ends. So I'm going to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Putting them together. And wrapping those around both ends. fast as I can because I am so excited to shoot some Halloween candy across the room. Okay, one end and the other end. Or marshmallows. Marshmallows, what do you think? Think about this. You could try different things. You could try marshmallows, which are pretty light, or you could try candy corn, which are a little heavier. Which do you think would go farther? You could guess and then see if you're right. Okay, so here's step one, here's step two, and then to make things go really far, I have a spoon. And on to step one, I'm going to split it apart just a little bit because I'm going to take and do a rubber band on one of those popsicle sticks to hold that spoon on. Okay. And that's a little hard part. You can always ask an adult to help you wrap rubber bands. We're good at it, you know. There we go. Spoon and rubber band, and I'm going to make sure that that rubber band goes all the way down my spoon handle. So there you have something like that. Spoon rubber banded to one of the arms of the catapult. And now I'm going to stick the ones that you wrap together right down the center. See how I'm doing that? It almost looks like an airplane, don't you think? Okay, so now if I put this down on the table and pull this back, boing, what's going to happen? Let's find out. All right, so I'm going to move this here, and I'm going to hold this here. Okay, and I'm going to take a piece of candy corn, and I'm going to fling it across the room. And if you're doing this in a larger room, you can actually measure how far it goes. And then, like I said, you can compare. Maybe you have a couple different kinds. Maybe you have a mini candy bar. How far would that go? Let's see what happens with my candy corn here. Straighten out my catapult, push it down, and fling it. Whoa! Mine just went up high in the air. Maybe my popsicle sticks aren't big enough. All right, let's go. Let's do another one. 1, 2, 3. Boing! So you can have fun with it. You can even aim it a little. If you have bigger popsicle sticks, you might, oh, you know what? What would happen if I tried to put 2 of those, one on top of each other? So I have a bigger space. Oh wait, that's too much. What if I added just one more popsicle stick under there to make it just a little thicker? What do you think would happen? Do you think it would go farther? That raised the spoon just a little bit. Let's find out. Here we go. Lots of ways you can experiment with this. 1, 2, 3. Wow! Or here's another thing you can experiment with. My spoon can only go down as far as it touches the table. What if I held it, I made it higher. What if I held it over at the edge of the table and pulled my spoon down even farther than the surface of the table? What do you think will happen? It's bending, it's bending, it's bending. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I hit the ceiling. That was pretty cool. All right, so there we go. I hope you have a great Halloween this year and try some of our experiments and get to eat some crazy gummy worms and jello and make some fizzy pumpkins. And join us again next time when we do some more fun experiments. Happy Halloween! I saw something I had never ever seen before. And here's where you get to make a choice. Was it a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex? Okay, so now how are we going to paint the pine cones? Maybe 3 pine cones. What do you think? Yeah, 3 pine cones. And then the fun starts. What's happening here? Well, when we pull back on our little shooter here, that creates potential energy. And then when I let it fly, it turns that potential energy into kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is the energy of motion. And